So hello everyone, Sendou here. I'm today here with
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy, yes, indeed. And we were thinking of doing this kind of like discussion slash interview slash whatever about the subject of what makes a top player, like what traits do top players have, what do they think, what is their mentality, things like this. So I have some kind of notes that we were planning on going through and seeing what comes up. But like I have first, yeah, like I just like to hear like you watch a lot of like really good players on OpenRec, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say, like, okay, think about like someone who is like the best Dynamo, like the like simply is the best. So what would you say is the biggest difference between like just best Dynamo specifically versus just
The
normal
average
good
one.
Dynamo, average, or just good? Like, what do you think like makes them so good, like on the fundamental level?
Well, if I'm going to have like the one example for top Dynamo, I guess I'll say Dynamon from like NIS, then No Kids. And if like you watch his streams, like his gameplay,
Mm-hmm.
I guess like what makes him special compared to other Dynamos is that he has like really good movement, like technical abilities, like uh, the way he like sub cancels with the sprinklers to like evade krakens, or the way he like approaches enemies at a sideways angle first and then switches to front at the last second so they can't see him around corners as quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But really the biggest thing is that he knows what he's supposed to do. So like his main job is to ink the zone pretty much and get map control in general.
Mm-hmm.
And he does like all the things he needs to do in order to accomplish that. He's not going out trying to make a play and get a kill, like unless it presents itself to him. He just basically understands that his job is to get the echoes, to provide the map control, and to let his team, take
Yeah,
care of the
yeah,
rest.
like know what to do and exactly. So like this like a lead up to more like something I see like some people say, like they straight up say that I'm the, like for example I have the best movement, and like I
Mm-hmm.
think it represents some kind of misconception as to, for example, what is good movement in the first place. But like
Mm-hmm.
for example, you think like I have to be doing like a certain amount of actions per minute, like I have to be going like doing really flashy things, for example, like I have to
Mm-hmm.
be doing this all these nice triple kills, quad kills, whatever. But
Yeah.
like for example, like if you play Dynamo, like Dynamon, like okay, he
Mm-hmm.
does some really nice plays, but like
Yeah.
he doesn't, like he knows what Dynamo's supposed to be doing, and that's like inking, which is always not so fancy.
Yep, for sure. Like for like example, if his team gets wiped on Port Mackerel, like he just goes to the top left and just looks straight up and inks, or it's like helped him some of the
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
just kind of inks for like a while till he gets the echo, and that kind of like sets up everything. There's no moment where you watch like a top Japanese player and or a top player in general,
Mm-hmm.
really, and you're watching them, and then you're like, okay, they just went out there and died for no reason. Like uh, these good players really take advantage of like specials and using the specials, getting the specials, understanding like where they are safe on the map. So like this similar example, like Kelpton and
Mm-hmm.
Mackerel, like when you go to these spots, you're like generally safe, so you charge your special, stuff like that. I feel like if you're trying to understand and like learn as you're going through, you realize like, oh, just because one team is pushing the tower or capture the zone doesn't mean you need to take it back right now.
Mm-hmm.
You could wait and get yourself a better opportunity than trying to go in and like you said, like make these heroic quad kills to save the zone when it's at 96. But you could just wait till it's at you could wait till it's like like 40 or 30.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really is not that big of a deal, because as long as you're setting yourself up for a better advantage yourself, like 40 doesn't matter if you get it to 25 or whatever, 39 even. Like That's I think that's something that separates what I watch good, like quote unquote support players compared to bad ones. That these guys will just bide the time and understand you have some time to make something happen as opposed to just getting a kill. Like it's not always the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like what I like was trying to go with this is that sometimes the thing that helps you to win the most at any given moment might be just nothing like special. Like for example on like boards where you go behind the zone and try to ink it, like it's nothing fancy. You just do it because you know it's the most useful thing you can do at this moment. And you're not gonna get like crazy KD, and you're not gonna be like making any highlight reel montage. You know, you're not gonna just edit it and put it on YouTube like montage. Like it's just not gonna happen. But like it's just when you want to win, then you have to always be doing like you have to be thinking like what helps our team to win the most, like at this given moment.
Yeah,
and like the other thing I want to talk here was like I think like it's not maybe as much of a thing anymore, but like going after KD and like some players, you see that okay they like when you play against them, they get pretty nice KD. Like if you didn't watch them play, you would never know. But when you watch them play, like how you can get good KD in this game does not always mean that you are doing the one thing that helps your team win the most. Like that's the common theme.
For sure.
Like for example, like if you think about something like sarking, if you overdo it, it's gonna result in nice KD, right? But again, is that the thing that helps you win the games?
Yeah. Well, it's actually that goes with like what I said a little bit as well. Like sometimes like that one Tentatek player or whatever will be sharking in the corner of the map, waiting for the perfect opportunity. But when that opportunity comes, his team is already wiped. So yeah, he'll get like the double kill or whatever. But it could have been avoided in the beginning if he was just playing the game, the right way.
Yeah,
making the correct plays.
Yeah, exactly, and that's definitely something that I feel like okay, when you get to that point, then it's very easy to fool yourself into thinking, well, I got the double kill, well, okay, my team got wiped, so
Yeah,
well,
for
they
sure.
got wiped, so whatever. I got the double kill, okay, my team was at on point this time. Rather than maybe I should have gone there and got the trade, not so fancy, and then quick respawn, sell some back in. Like maybe that's the right thing to do, but again, maybe not so great KD, so it might be the hard thing to do. And like I think this connects also to a thing which I think is pretty. I think you would agree with me on this, that pretty common sentiment in this scene, especially Western side at the moment, is that I don't want to use something. It's too cheap. It's like it's not my style. It's just it's just not me. Like good like very good example is like quick respawn. And
or even like a Dynamo or Zinc Mini to a lesser extent.
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever, like these things like are perceived like as okay, no skill, or for example, it's just like when you think about like something like what people think is skillful, then I think something like Squiffer is very like up there, right? Like it's like Lean is pretty popular, and I think he's one of the most like really amazing player. But like I think like people kind of like have this very like romanticized idea in their head that okay, this is the thing I need to do. Like I need to show my skill. I need to go out there, direct everyone on, skiff everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
And like when you look at the weapon, like we talked earlier, Dynamo, almost well, there's some Dynamo players for sure, but you would agree with me on this probably that among top teams it's very like underrepresented for how cute it is. Like factually, it's just a very good weapon, and yet people don't use it. Like I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely like I said this I think the other day to you, some other people, like I feel like the Western mindset is like too focused on being a hero or being a superstar. But at the end of the day, like this is a team game, so there's no like super crazy statistics to show that Fuzzy is statistically the best Tentatek. Like, no one would ever consider someone the best at a weapon if they don't win anything. Like, if they're never winning, they're never like just performing well in tournaments at all. Like, not maybe not even winning, but like even getting top 8s or top 4 or something, like to prove their point as if like I'm the best at this. So if you're gonna play, the weapon whatever that you say like a Splash Shot Pro or Squiffer or something, and then you say like, oh, I'm such a good player, look what I'm doing. Like, if you aren't winning any games, like, I think there might be something wrong with your mindset and how you're approaching it, because people get noticed when they beat other good players. Like, that's just the way competitive stuff works.
Actually, like, and I think that's like some kind of identity crisis some people have. Like, am I casual? Am I competitive? Like, should I be doing the thing that helps me win the most? Should I do the thing that, like, for example, you pick up bamboo, and it's just, for example, like, okay, you can think of yourself, okay, I'm now a bamboo player, so this is what I'm gonna be playing. So that is very limiting to you. Like, even if there would be like some scenarios where bamboo is good, it's kinda negated due to the fact that it's not gonna be good on every map. Like, it's not gonna be the thing that is gonna help you win the most likely in most scenarios.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's certainly like kind of like stigma maybe for using what is gonna help you win the most. Maybe the stigma at using Shimi because it's perceived as easy weapon, like, or like I don't know what it could be, but like I feel like it could be like people think that this is so no skill, this is no like what do I get out of this? Like, nobody's gonna respect me if I do this one cheap thing. Even if like it would be the one thing that helps your team win the most. So definitely I think that's one thing that separates a really good player from a just average one.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you're using like something perceived top tier, because it only, in a sense, it only makes sense to use the top tier weapon. Like, in a way, think of it like, say you play like a different perspective. Say you're playing bamboo, like you said, and you think like you're a really good bamboo player, but you can't really win games. Maybe like, instead of thinking like, well, I'm doing my best, I'm going, 14-6, some games I'm killing them, like, what's going on? Like, we can't win. Like, maybe you should take a step back and be like, okay, well, obviously this weapon has, some weaknesses, and they're well aware. People talk about it. It doesn't rate highly on any tier list. Maybe, like, in a way, you're like letting your teammates down. If your teammates are running like, trying their best with the best weapons, and then you're just running around saying like, oh, sorry, like, I'm locked into my bamboo. That's me. All I could do is this bamboo. You're doing a disservice to the people around you that are trying to win with you.
Exactly.
If you are, so stubborn to try and play something, I mean, we don't have proper statistics, but it's, obvious at this point. We're well aware like what's good and what's not.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a game that's made by human. Like, it's never going to be perfectly balanced. So I feel like maybe some people might look at a tier list and be a stubborn about it. Like, what if, okay, for example, I'm a Splash-O-Matic main. I never play anything but Splash-O-Matic. And why would I use Tentatek? It's too easy, too cheap, there's no skill. So, again, like, taking a step back and saying, okay, this is what I need to play right now to help the team win. And like, this is what I need to be learning to help the team win. It's not always so easy thing to do, maybe. I know some people have played the same weapon since the launch. And like, at that point it might be hard to just, learn something that others, like, that's like, called easy or called broken or whatever, and something that many people already play. So you're not like, you're no longer the special snowflake who play.
Yeah. I was gonna say that, like, maybe like, but I think if you're the person who says like, okay, like, I want to be known as the best Splash-O-Matic player, not, a good Tentatek, then maybe like competition is not really suiting you so well, because you're making it about yourself, and this is very much a team game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think next thing also again kind of condensed to this, but like another thing I see people saying is, why are people just looking what others are doing and trying to like copy it? Like that is so stupid. Why don't you think of your own thing, own ways to win? So like, can you like maybe open your mindset a bit, because I know you watch a lot of like Japanese players, and I know you take a lot of like things from their game plan. So what is like your stance on maybe copying, like copying whatever you wanna call it, others' play style,
Yeah.
and to what extent you should be doing it?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I have very personal experience with like this anyway, because when I joined NSTC for the first time and we played NIS in the scrims where we got pummeled, and NIS is a top Japanese team and we're the best Western team. There's no like arguing any team like NSTC at this point is the #1 Western team, no doubt about it. And we played NIS, who is a top 3-ish very good Japanese team, and we just got annihilated, even on the modes that they don't even play, Tower Control and Rainmaker. And one mode, Tower Control, that we prided ourselves on as being the best, we still got destroyed. So, my pride as being, I'm like to myself always, I say like I'm the best Tentatek player, and these guys have 2 Tentateks who just pummeled me for 48 games straight. Like
Exactly.
It's a wake up call. So, and when we were finished, I remember like I was not like down or salty or depressed. Like these guys used different strategies, especially TC and Rainmaker. They really like packed on QR before QR was like majorly popular. But like after the scrims, instead of sitting there being like, oh, how could I beat these guys, I said to myself, okay, what are their open rec accounts or Nico accounts or whatever? What is their status in Japan? Like how are they perceived? And then once I figured out that stuff, I was like, okay, these guys are respectable, top team, respectable players. Okay, let me see what they're doing. Okay, I learned denchan, specifically for each of them, moyakawa and denchan. Denchan is the best aim I've ever seen in my entire life. And he used defense, like full stacks of defense, in order to like let him be super aggressive at all times, since it's hard to kill him since he's, at that extra bullet, that extra burst bomb, whatever. And then Moyakawa used run speed like I did, run speed, swim speed build, but he also like used ink recovery on splat zones sometimes for bomb spam. He like had impeccable callouts and like felt like really like a leader role for the team. So I mean that was my first experience, and then even harsher after that is after I quit the game and then came back from like maybe 6 months hiatus or so, when you and I started playing Japanese scrims for the first time in about December. We just got destroyed by QR, like full QR teams. And, it took me maybe a day and a half to say, okay, like I'm done playing run speed defense, Tentatek, and trying to beat these teams that are obviously like employing a better strategy than this. And I switched to QR, and I've been running QR now for 3 months, like without looking back. And it's not because QR is cheap. It's just natural competitive tendencies. I saw something that was, good, so I wanted to use it for myself. It makes no sense for me to hinder myself on purpose. It's like, what game I guess is similar. Like, I guess if anyone's familiar with like Overwatch, when McCree was totally overpowered, if you were a competitive player saying, I'm not playing McCree because I don't like how much damage he does, it's so broken, well then you get laughed at.
Yeah, it don't make no sense. Like nobody would give it the time of the day. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
It makes no sense. It's what, and I don't know where it came from in this community that everyone had to be unique and find everything out by themselves, and everyone has to do their own thing, because at the end of it, like competition in general, it's like a pyramid. Like it reaches a pinnacle where there is that one or couple top strategies. Everything is like this. All sports, all video games reach a point where there's a top tier, and it's very rare, like extremely rare. Like in Splatoon, we have someone like Lean who could play at the highest level with Squiffer, or Kagutso with Luna Blaster, or in other games like Super Smash Brothers with Axe playing Pikachu. And then it kind of like falls off. Like you don't see anyone else really doing it unless you are truly special with this one weapon that you're using. Otherwise, there's no excuse for to purposely play something that's not as good, that gives you a worse chance of winning than something else, if your goal is to be a competitive player that has a chance to win tournaments.
Exactly. I think like the Anna Scream is a good example because I think my mindset was very different back then. Like if you remember, I pretty much only played Luna Blaster, and it was also one thing that maybe I did first, or at least I was one of the first people who played it even before the better variation came out. So when we played NIS, of course, like I was used to winning, like I was used to win. Like no matter like which Western tournament we played in, we often like won, and it wasn't even that hard sometimes. So I kind of had this image in my head that okay, this is who I am and this is what I play. So when we played NIS, of course they had the like world class Dynamon, and we ever like I simply put like got destroyed, especially on Splat Zones. But I didn't really think like okay, what should I do different? Like I didn't really think this. If I remember correctly, I got kind of upset and quit mid scrim, and like this was like I just agreed that I'm just not as good as these guys and kept doing what I do. Like and it made like there was no other reason for this, maybe like doing what you're comfortable with, or doing what you are used to doing, or doing what you maybe think that you are. Like you have this image in your head that this is who I am.
Yeah.
And like my image was that I play Luna, and that was it. And then maybe way later, like in Storm, we got destroyed by almost kids. But it was much closer, but still. That's when I started thinking like, okay, maybe like just playing Blast is not gonna be enough, like because the people I play with, and well, especially the people I play with, because when you think about like CRB, if I always played with Dynamo, right, or something like I always played with Simi, then maybe I could play CRB only or something. But my teammates kind of put me like limits on what I should be using optimally for us to win. So I picked up like eventually I ended up picking up Jimmy, which was like still not like I didn't see many people use it in West. It was simply because okay, like I knew it was good. Like I didn't really invent anything there. I just knew it was good, so I picked it up. It's for something I think on like it was no other like explanation. But
well, also sorry, but like you were maybe like the first person to really like pioneer QR Luna, which is another thing. Like since you were maybe like the first person that I saw for sure, but like maybe one of the first people ever that could add to like this is my identity. This is something that I made. I am this player. So it takes a lot of courage and introspection to say like, okay, like this is not working out anymore. Like this thing that I created is not good enough to work against these good players anymore, which is really like is like
yeah,
respectful.
exactly. But it's also like a manner of like adaptation, and but also like when you think about Luna, I still play it. Like it's not like I completely got rid of it and I never play it and I now only play Jimmy because it's meta. No, there's still maps where Luna's like I can say without lying to myself that this is good thing on this map, or like this I can do this. But at the same time, like I just use what I think helps us win the most, like win the most likely.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I feel like it was a change of mindsets to me at some point where I was like, okay, well now no longer am I like chained to this image of myself in my head. Instead I have like more freedom of what I do, and I think it has provided good results. Like I think Splat Zones went from my least liked mode to most liked maybe, or most comfortable maybe, and so on. So I think that's definitely some people should be looking at, like maybe even if you like change weapons to something that maybe is more like top tier or whatever. It's not like you have to say goodbye to your old weapon. You can like still play it, but like maybe finding the right balance in when to play it and so on.
Yeah, for sure.
Is often the difficult part. And like what I want to say is that when you so-called imitate some team, like it's not like you one carbon copy. Like you don't just copy everything they do, right? You
It's like impossible
yeah,
in a sense. Even
it's impossible. Like you different people, and at the end of the day, like you have different backgrounds, so it's not gonna be the optimal case for you to copy everything they do, right? So I feel like something people might be misunderstanding here is that you're not supposed to copy everything, right? You're supposed to look at what they do and figure out, okay, this is better, so I'm gonna be doing this from now on, but I'm also be doing this, which is my own thing. But also your own thing has to be something that you can, like, you know, you can find the explanations why that is so. Other than it's my own thing, and period. Like that's not a thing. But okay, so moving forward with something different is that I had like the practice mentality, or maybe I don't know how to better put it, but when you think about like if you boot up the game and like your image in your head is that now I'm going to be practicing, like what are you gonna be doing, because everyone has limited time. Nobody's doing this full time, or nobody even if they were doing it full time, they still wouldn't have unlimited hours. So I think like one thing about the, like, you could maybe tell something about like when you boot up the game, what do you want to do? Like what are you gonna do the first thing? If you can decide, then what would you choose to be doing in Splatoon?
Like for me personally,
yeah.
I suppose if I had, okay, so basically now at the point that I'm at, like when I'm playing Splatoon, when I'm turning on my Wii U to play Splatoon, like my goal is to, you know, basically I want to be scrimming like high level teams with high level teammates. But for when I make that decision, okay, we found teammates, we found a team, like I think like just going into the training room for just, you know, a few seconds, or into a turf war or ranked, or like whatever atmosphere you want, it doesn't really matter as much as like when you boot up the game, just warm up your hands, you know, like basic stuff. There's nothing, you know, eye opening. Just like, you know, get the aim down, you know, get comfortable with yourself. You know, do like some like more advanced movements, like try that video that everyone saw of Taiji on Bluefin. Like I do that sometimes, just in the training room. Like try to ink the wall as I'm jumping, and then swim up, or you know, hit all the dummies. You know, under like a set of circumstances that I create for myself. You know, just basic stuff, just to warm your hands up. Like, or you could, if you're going into turf or ranked or whatever, then you have live opponents to, you know, practice against. But if your hope is to be scrimming a team with your team, then you shouldn't go into rank with like, oh, I have to carry the Rainmaker to the pedestal. Like, you know, take a break for, you know, this one rank game. Don't get so salty that, you know, your team wipes, you know, 100 times, and just focus on killing the enemies, like getting a good position, you know, trying to see the map from a good perspective, like so you could position yourself better to get some kills. And then, you know, take that one solo game, or, you know, two solo games to really hone in your own abilities. Like, you don't have to win the solo game or the turf war. That's not the goal of any top player anymore. You know, the wins come because you're, you know, a good player, but solo is not, you know, where you're trying to make your wins and losses. So that's just like basically what I would do if I started up the game.
Exactly. And like I think especially like the focus on scrims, I think that's at every level that's like a good thing in a sense, because you get to practice with the people you play with normally, and you get to practice many different modes, many different maps. So it's like, to me, like it's just much better use of time. Like I talked about the limited time that we all have, then well, the one team that's using the time the wisest is probably gonna be the one that's gonna be dominating. So you see some like Rising Moon, well, how are they so good? Well, they practice a lot. I always see Ursa looking for scrims. And like this is again, like this is common sense. The one team that practices the most is gonna be the one that's gonna be taking the wins. And especially like I think this not so much thing nowadays, but it definitely used to be, where people weren't even like that interested in screaming. They was mostly wanted to mess up in squads and try out fun weapons, and which is like okay, but at the same time when they entered the tournament they were wondering like why did we get beaten so badly by this team that we never before lost to. But like this was actually a thing, like people, it was like a huge controversy, like Japanese are screaming much more, why are we just squatting and so on and so on. But it was true, like I remember it was really hard to find a scrim, and most teams that
that's fair,
but like that's just one thing, like if you wanna be really good at this game, then probably the one thing you should be doing when you boot up is like you have a certain mission, like I'm gonna be screaming today, or if you can't scream for some reason, then maybe you go in solo and do a very certain thing. And like it's like when you have limited time, you have to be using it wise, right? That's gonna be the one thing that's gonna be telling.
Definitely a good thing you said is like creating a goal for yourself. Like, okay, I'm doing this. Like, even if you're scrimming has its own, set of goals that just come inherently with, playing the game competitively to scrim. That's like a general practice. But, in the scrim, like for instance, I got sick and tired of playing double or triple Tentatek comps with, Western teams. So I just started playing 96. Like, I'm like, like this is a different weapon with a different mindset, and like myself, similar to you, like I'm a Tentatek player. I always will be. I think I'm the best Tentatek player, but I was like, okay, like, do I want to be the best Tentatek player on a team with 3 Tentateks and like lose and or like I just played 96 and then maybe we win some more because I'm able to like control the map better or get some Krakens for some pushes or something.
Yeah, exit.
And like all of a sudden, like now I feel like I could play 96 in tournament without blinking an eye, and that versatility like all came from just scrimming and just being like, okay, this is something that I could practice without like any real difficulty, and it'll improve my game and improve like my win rate, which is like something that I'm always looking to do. Like even minuscule things, maybe to improve my win rate by 5% even is like
it's definitely worth it. And like definitely I think with you and 96 that you're more like versatile, right? Because you don't always like it's in Splatoon it's never gonna be the same for people always. So if you have that little bit of versatility, for me it's I can play Tsimi, I can maybe pick up CAB or whatever, depending on who's the exit 4 people I'm playing with and what's how like what are we missing on this map. So I think that's definitely a big thing. Like if you wanna improve really fast and you already have one really good weapon, then maybe it's time to think of something else to the side of it. Like okay, definitely like it's good idea, like if you're starting out then you focus on one weapon and you learn the ins and outs of it. I think that's very useful. But at some point it might be worth it to just kind of like branch out a bit, become more versatile, just do whatever it takes to improve your win rate. And like in that sense,
and again, like just because I started playing 96 doesn't mean that I think like, oh, my Tentatek is not good enough. I tried, like I didn't want to play 96 or any other weapon for a while because I wanted to be the person that would be the Tentatek in the 3 Tentatek group. I wanted to like have that it's pride, like be like, okay, like if I'm with 4 Tentatek mains and we have to win, like I want to be the one who everyone says, okay, you stay Tentatek. But I still think I'm the best Tentatek. Like that mindset didn't go away. But now I changed like this 96 mindset to like I'm so good at Splatoon that I'm good enough at Splatoon that I could switch to 96 and we won't be losing anything. We won't have all of a sudden we won't have like a disaster. We won't be able to like capture the zone or push a tower or something. Like I'm good enough to be able to play this other weapon and still believe in myself enough and also still have confidence in my other weapon. It's not me giving up on Tentatek.
Yeah, exactly.
It's me.
I mean, you still have the Tentatek icon in Discord and everything, so it's like it's still your identity. Like it went nowhere. You're still the Tentatek player, but at the same time, you're probably a better player because you can play also this other thing, which is completely different. And like it's not an easy thing to do, right? So I think many people might get discouraged when they pick up something different and then they like find out this is not as comfortable for me as the previous weapon. So they don't kind of put enough hours into it, and it's never feels as good as your main weapon. So I
Yeah.
think taking
Well,
the step out and out of your comfort zone is gonna be a big thing.
yeah, I think the biggest thing that helped me with 96 was, first of all, I struggled a long time with 96. Like, I always like dabbled in 96, especially when it was so strong, like before the nerfs. But post nerf, I didn't play it at all. And then when I, decided, okay, I want to do this, I didn't just magically become like some god 96
Mm-hmm.
player. I did for a long time, like just watch, these Japanese 96 players on OpenRec, even the ones that don't stream. I would watch their opponents so I could see how they're dying to this 96. Like, I'm not just going to sit there and say like, oh, I'm going to play 96 and then, just bust it out in tournaments and say like, all right, let's hope this works. Like, I put in the, serious amount of research hours. Like, there's one 96 streamer that I watch, and then, two others that don't stream, but I was able to watch, their opponents and really like take a lot from that. And I did that with Tentatek too. I watch cherries, I watch e-leaders, I watch everything because it gives me the perspective of, okay, how does this weapon win and lose against these other weapons? And I think that's something good that people should look into as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think the research part is also very important. Like, for example, if I'm a CRB main, and I'm gonna think like, okay, maybe I want to pick up Dynamo because it makes sense for a team on some stages. Then the best result for you is probably gonna be to watch someone like on OpenRec and trying to find the top Dynamo players. Maybe ask on Ink Academy or wherever, like, who are the top Dynamo players right now. And when you watch them and you see like what do they do, like, and you can think of yourself, okay, this is what I should be doing. So you have some kind of goal towards like goal that you try to reach. So you just don't go in and like, I don't know what I'm doing, like, help me. And then it doesn't feel very good, right? When you fail, but you never even had a goal in the first place. So
if you have no, like, at the beginning of Splatoon's history, we were all doing it, by our own intuition. Now, we're fortunate enough, if you want to say, I want to play Serbi, I want to play U-Leader, I want to play Tentatek 96, etc. There are the resources available to give you the jump start. And I know a lot of people complain about guides or, discuss guides. We need guides. But, it's not like there's nothing there. We do have all these streamers, like from the West side and from Japan, that, have put in enough work with these weapons that if you watch them long enough, it's pretty self-evident to like, okay, this is something good to do on this map. Like, this is bad on this map. Like, if you have watch a Tentatek streamer like myself, if I ever see a 96, I walk the other way. Like, I'm not going to sit there and try and beat the top 96 player with my Tentatek. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just gotta, you could watch stuff and learn, and when you play yourself and employ their tactics, it's not you copying. Like, that's not what's being done here. It's learning. We're all learning.
Exactly.
We're all trying to get better.
Yeah, I think that's like a really good thing you said about, like, it's not copying, it's learning, right? That's how human thinks too. Like, this is how human race got so far, is that we are really damn good at learning from each other. And by large it means looking at what other people are doing and then doing it, trying to do the same thing by yourself. And then maybe at some point you are on their level, and at that point you start like discovering new stuff for yourself. But that's not the starting point, right? You're not gonna like pick up Dynamo and be like, well, I'm not gonna paint. Like, I'm gonna be the Dynamo that just goes to their spawn and starts trying to spawn camp them or whatever. Like, okay, fine. If you master the weapon and decide that's what I'm gonna do, then well, go ahead. I'm sure you know what you're doing at that point. But if that's your starting point, then I'm sure you might struggle a bit. Like, you might not find yourself having such a good time and might go back to the CRB, which was so comfortable for you, or whatever. And like, again, and then we're at the starting point. Like, why did you try to pick up Dynamo in the first place?
Why are you playing Dynamo if you're trying to reinvent the wheel? Like, we know at Dynamo, we have experience and history of top tier players playing top tier weapons and winning, top tournaments. So, you don't have to play, like, there's no shame in saying like, okay, I'm gonna start playing Dynamo today, but like, but I don't want to copy Dynamon or Zatto or Samurai Man back in the day. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, at some point, you got to respect that there are people who have done something special with the weapon, and
Yeah.
it would be foolish to not take something.
Yeah, like respecting the hours they put to the weapon. Like I don't understand this mainly that some people seemingly have is that they think like, okay, well, okay, they put hundreds of hours to this weapon, but you know what? I know the best. Like, why would I be the one that's copying them? And I don't want to use quick respawn or whatever. Like, this is also foolish if your goal is to win, and that's the thing. Like, you gotta figure out like, am I going to be like going casual? Am I trying to enjoy? Then yeah, this probably has been quite a waste of 45 minutes for you so far because like the assumption is that you wanna win, right?
Yeah.
And well,
Yeah,
the people
for sure.
who win, like who the better to learn that from that the people who win. Like this is
Yep.
like to me like this is like so common sense.
Common sense. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
I think coming like back the scrims too, like if it's a team game, like when you think about Splatoon, it's not like Smash or whatever fighting game. It's not one versus one. You're playing with a team, so if majority of your playtime is gonna be solo or whatever, like it's not gonna be enough, right? If in tournaments, tower control and you get a good vibe, and then, well, in 3 seconds nobody's getting on tower, like you don't have a clear game plan, and to me that's just lack of practice, lack of scrims.
Yeah.
And when you play like dozens of times on that one map, then that's when you really have the roles like in your mind, like clear set. This is what I'm gonna do in this situation.
That's a good point. I think something happened in this game where people decided on their own that there's no such thing as a role. Like there's no such thing as support or slayer or whatever like static role. Normal like MOBA or like Overwatch or Dota, League of Legends like have. But that doesn't mean like all of a sudden like everyone could just do whatever they want. It doesn't make any sense. Like there's like all these specific kits on all these weapons for a reason. Like there's a reason why Dynamo is used like all the time because has the best support kit. And there's reasons why Tentatek is used so much, CRV is used so much. Like these weapons, they fill a role that teams have really like gotten to a point where like this is what this weapon does on this map. Like for example, I talked about this like the other day, but like say you're playing on Bluefin Depot, and in fact, Sendou, you were scrimming on this map like the other day, and like I heard you talking about it, and it like really resonated with me because I understand 100% what you were saying. Like if you have say your lineup is a cherry, for the example that I'm using, or a cherry 96, and then you have Zimmy and E-Leader and a Tentatek. So cherry or 96, Zimmy, E-Leader, Tentatek. And you're playing Bluefin Depot Splat Zones. And then at the start of the map, your Tentatek says, okay, I'm going to go opposite of zone. That doesn't mean when the Tentatek dies that he goes into the zone like at a later time, because then you're missing 50% of the map all of a sudden. Like there are no callouts, no there's no knowledge of half the map. And it's not like some other maps where there's kind of like an irrelevant part that you don't really need to check as much. Like on Bluefin Depot, if you are not checking that opposite side of the map, you're just going to get flanked over the bridges, through your own base, all sorts of like disgusting things. And then you'll suddenly like go from a position where you thought you were winning because you capped the zone so easily. It's a huge misconception. Like, oh man, we just capped that zone for free. Like, where are they? Like, where are they even playing? And all of a sudden you're dead from your own spawn, and then your whole spawn is inked out, and you can't win. You basically just lose because you did not cover the map properly. And that's something that's it should be dealt with without 10 hours of discussion. It should at some point the top players already should know like, okay, this is what I should be doing on this map. Like the 96 should be putting up the wall on Camp Triggerfish and Port Mackerel, and or
it shouldn't be like something you like agree to every time. It should just be happening. But even like, okay, well, okay, maybe if you're listening to this and your team is not like already this played since beginning, has 3,000 hours clocked, then well, guess what? You scream, and soon these things will become like what they are maybe to me and Fuzzy. It's just like like we just take them for granted, right? But
yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta.
for sure. I'm definitely like taking a step over, but I think like also it's something that you could watch and ask. Like if you find me on Twitter, Discord, whatever, and you are see that your team is struggling on bluefin splantons or whatever, you could ask the question. Like I understand it's intimidating for sure, but you know if you really want to learn, like you're gonna do what you can, to learn how to win the games.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something to. If you came to me asking for advice about something like that, like it doesn't, I don't. We're human beings too. Like we're not some sort of like celebrity something. Like I play Splatoon, the same amount of time as everyone else. Sendou too. Like we enjoyed talking about the game. That's why we're making this video in the first place. So
yeah, exactly. Like just getting past maybe the fears of like not too many people ask me about things like if people PM me, they most likely want to either join Chimera or Scrims. And I'm like, yeah, well, that sometimes works out and sometimes doesn't. But you can just if you have like, some like idea in your head, then you can just come to me and ask. Like it's okay. Like you can ask and I'll try to. If it's like a reasonable question, I can answer it and I'll do my best and try to answer it. Like it's fine and this is how you learn. Like I think most and I would like be as bold and say most top players think the same. Like if you have like something that okay, this is something I can figure out on my own, this is not something I can learn from just watching the streams, then yeah, well then maybe the right choice is to go and ask those people, whether they be streaming or Discord or whatever. Like again, like this is again like some people might okay, well I just gonna listen to them and like not use your own brains and just copy what they do and copy what they say. No, it's just people like you look at people who win, right? And that's what you want to do. Well, to some extent, getting there is by doing the same things they are doing or thinking the same way they do. And then maybe one day they'll be taking lessons from you. Like I'll be PMing you and asking like, well, what do you like? I've done this before. Like I'm learning a new weapon and I'm asking someone, how do I do this? Like I never done this before, so can you please help me here? And it's okay. Like that's how you learn. And then I copy them, and then eventually I add more of my own stuff there when I can like, for example, Jimmy. I had very specific build at the start. Like Hexen gave it to me, and it had like damage and whatnot. But then eventually I started thinking, well, there's many more Jimmys that don't use damage, so maybe I could drop it. And then many Jimmys don't use special duration, but for me it felt good for the way I use bubbles, so I ended up using it. But this only came to me through a lot of like practice and whatnot. So I became like one with the weapon, so to speak. So at first I had no idea what to do. But when I got some kind of like framework to start working with, so it's much easier for me to start picking up the weapon. And I think like just definitely go around and ask why it is so and so on. I think this is how you are gonna be learning.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, I think like this is already a pretty long video, so we should probably wrap this up about now.
Okay.
So thanks, and I still have points to discuss over, so we could do a definitely second part later. But for now, thanks Fuzzy for joining me. And
no problem. Thanks for having me, Sendou.
okay, later.